Overcoming the challenges of a Kundalini awakening. First of all, I want to just say this is not a beginner video. This isn't the signs and symptoms and the regular stuff you'll see on many channels. We're going to go way deeper here. So if you're interested, keep watching because there's going to be quite a few points throughout this video. I'm not going to tell you exactly what they are and list them and, like all the other YouTube channels are, because if you are truly interested in learning, you're going to be watching this video. Before I start, please remember to hit that notifications button, hit the subscribe button, just so the algorithm knows to send this to more people, and also so you can get, obviously, notifications of things coming off my channel. A brief introduction to Kundalini Awakening. Well, first of all, to talk about Kundalini Awakening, we have to talk about awakenings. This is not something new. In Egyptian times, everyone was considered dead apart from people who walked the path that would become alive. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Egyptian Book of the Dead is not about death. It's about almost being reborn. Every religion has a thing about born again. It's something there within everything. We call this today awakening. So most people are asleep and a few people go through awakening. So we have a regular awakening or spiritual awakening, which is basically, it's sort of one step higher up than woke. Woke is understanding politically that there's a corrupt system. Basically, that's where the term comes from. But awakening is realizing that there's more to life. Many people will go through a regular spiritual awakening, it's called a midlife crisis for many, depending on the age. And just realizing that you're sort of wasting your time, that the stuff you've been programmed with isn't true. Everything you got given at school by the governments, it's just not right, by your parents, because they went through the same system. And there's more to life than that. It is waking up from the inherent knowledge that you just know. It's a bit like animals just know how to hunt without being taught. It's that type of information, it's that type of education that an awakening can give you. A Kundalini awakening goes further than a regular spiritual awakening because it connects us. It's not just our mental body. It releases the trauma from the physical body, those blockages we have. But it goes further because it releases the emotional stuff as well, and also connects us energetically to everything. This is the big difference. Obviously, the Kundalini energy, very specifically, because you have lots of different places saying lots of different things. Kundalini is not the energy that flows throughout the body. It's not the energy all around us. That is prana, that is chi. People moving around with the body, that is the prana waking up in the body. Kundalini energy is specific to your sushumna, to your spine. It is that channel. Within that channel, tantric energy can flow, the sacred sexual energy, without going through the root chakra. Therefore, it is just a sacred sexual energy going through the same channel. This can get very confusing. That is the tantric orgasm energy or neo-tantra. It has to go, that energy to awaken the Kundalini has to go to the root chakra, build there and go up. It is a very different sensation. It's a much deeper connection. It's a much more permanent connection than with just the tantric orgasm that is build, climax, fade. It is a constant thing, and we have to connect the root chakra to be able to do that. So by now, I hope you've realized what the purpose of this video is. It's to go into this, not on a super advanced level, but an intermediate level. People who have done their research and read the signs and symptoms and is my Kundalini awakening and listened to people's experience. We're going a bit deeper than that. So what are the common challenges in a Kundalini awakening? Well, we have the physical challenges, the emotional challenges, and then the energetic challenges. The physical challenges are perhaps you go to a session with someone, perhaps you do it with me online. I work, theawakeningenergy.com. Check me out for sessions if you want. But it's the first hurdle for a lot of people is, my body doesn't move like in the demos. It doesn't need to move. It's not really a challenge. But what we do have physically is to open up the energy channels within the physical body, break down those blocks, let the energy flow for us to go into deeper states. When this happens, we can get sensations of pain, of old injuries as energy flows back into them. We can get pains in our stomach. We can get headaches just as the energy is waking up. Then we get probably the biggest here. Not generally, but very specifically, there's one thing that most people struggle with. This is the emotional turmoil. This is the ups and the downs, the releasing of emotions, because when traumas are released, we can have very deep emotions. These emotions can be what we class as positive or negative. They can be fits of laughter, of hysteria, but they can also be letting out tears, pain, anger, and they can come through fits of shouting, through connecting, through sort of physical movements, more violent, sort of like a temper tantrum. And it's just the energy being released. But the biggest emotional block for most people that stops people going further, and this is one of the first major thing we need to talk about here, is fear. And there are many people that go into a Kundalini Awakening and say, I have no fear. And I know there are teachers out there that teach energy work, and they go about saying they have no fear, but they have a lot of psychological work still to do on themselves. And it's all based around fear. And a lot of people go into this and they're saying, oh, I don't have any issues, I'm open, let's go for it. And then the deeper we go, the more it becomes present. Fear. Oh no, this isn't fear. But when someone turns around and says, I'm afraid of dying in this process, well, this is a process of rebirth. Ego death, not literal physical death. It can happen. We know of one person this has happened to. In theory, this is exactly what Sadhguru said about his wife. If you're not sure about that, they went into a process, they went up, and she was like, when they're in the state, I am choosing to not go back. And therefore she left. He chose to come back. So it's a choice there. As far as I know, that's the only one, because everyone comes back. But we have these emotional issues and we have fear to deal with. And as I said, there are many healers that will say many things and try to hide their fears because they haven't gone through the full process themselves, selling it, etc. If you are stuck in duality, in polarity, why are you stuck there? Why are you processing there? Why don't you go into a full state of non-duality? Because there is some resistance. There is fear. Fear is resistance. And it is a challenge of the unknown, not wanting to go further. This is what we're talking about. This is what we have to open up to. What's going to happen if I have a full Kundalini awakening and I go into an astral projection into a trance state? Well, yeah, that can happen. You will be sent so high, you go into a trance state, and it's a bit like a plant medicine journey. The only difference is you have slightly more control. If you go super high, you do lose some of that control. But it is basically like, as I said, plant medicine. It's the same thing. A lot of people will sort of perhaps go on a plant medicine journey and they really enjoy it, which is basically more risky because you're giving up your power to the plant medicine. And yet they're afraid to do it without the plant medicine. to be able to do it themselves, to understand the real power and energy they have. And it's just something that needs to be worked on. It's shadow work. It's working through it. It's just going slowly in the process. It's taking your time. Of course, the other fear is based around all these videos of spontaneous awakenings and Kundalini Syndrome. The problem with Kundalini Syndrome is because your brain activates. I love to sort of make the analogy of Superman when he gets his powers. And he starts hearing everything super clearly and he can't handle it. And yeah, so what does he do? He flies up to the universe to chill out because he's not connected to anyone. That is when you have a full, powerful awakening. Your brain literally does activate and you become highly sensitive to everything. So Kundalini Syndrome, which has been misdiagnosed as bipolar, I'm not saying bipolar means Kundalini Syndrome, but it's someone going through awakening can be misdiagnosed because it is that powerful, because it's been spontaneous, because it hasn't been controlled, because it hasn't gone through time, because they haven't done it with someone helping them, because they've listened to the Hindu style, say, oh no, this is a grace of God and it will happen if it happens, and don't practice it. Well, that's just ignorance, because you want to learn how to do this in a cold, controlled fashion. If you get into that situation, you want to know how to stay calm for as long as you need to stay calm and have people helping you, walking through the process. So when your brain does fully activate and you become highly sensitive to everything, you don't go into a state of shock or fear. This is the whole point of using a energy master or a guru to go through this process. And this is where emotional becomes mental. It is the mental confusion. This is the next point we have to talk about, because the fear comes from the emotion, but the fear of the ego will drive mental turmoil within you. And if you haven't worked on your shadows, and if you haven't worked on your ego is going to fight the energy, which is going to create mental turmoil, which for most people, the maximum, it will end in a sort of dark night of the soul state. I'm not trying to belittle that state. It is a tough state to be in. It's almost like a short-term depression and everything's on top of you. It's nothing like Kundalini Syndrome, which is way worse. But Kundalini Syndrome, as I said, if you work through this in a practice state and you practice energy work and you practice your shadow work, and you're not doing this on drugs at a rave or a 3-day music festival where your brain becomes highly active and highly stimulated and it can't deal with everything, and so you basically sort of, not permanently, but you sort of break your brain. It's like almost go into a post-traumatic stress disorder from awakening your Kundalini. I'm not saying it's exactly that. I'm just sort of giving you an analysis. But it brings in mental confusion. And this mental confusion can become overwhelming. Because obviously energy rides in, to say it in a 2-dimensional plane, waves. So we go up and down and up and down. Our emotions are always changing. And we have to ride those, and we have to be comfortable riding those. And we have a point of higher energy and lower energy and more emotions and less emotions. And we have to disassociate from these emotions and become the observer of them. And whilst we do not disassociate from them, then this is where fear is going to play a much bigger role. We have to become the observer of our thoughts to avoid this. And of course, we could also talk about this as a spiritual crisis. Spiritual crisis, midlife crisis. Doing this going through a Kundalini or spiritual awakening can lead to a crisis. Or the crisis could be the starter point of where we came from. It's like an existential crisis. It's questioning why you're here. So whilst that can be an opener to seeking this path, it is also something that will go on. And again, a spiritual crisis, mental confusion, they're very similar things. It's just your ego trying to fight the energy to keep you safe. It's nothing bad, it's nothing wrong. It's just your ego saying, hey, I don't know what this is. This is weird. I'm going to fight back. Because enough's enough and I don't like this, much like the way depression works, I'm going to shut you down because I don't want this. And that will lead to mental problems and spiritual problems, as in feelings. Again, that's why we must come back to going through the process slowly, use someone who can guide you through the process, and just open and develop bit by bit, and to not go through the full awakening until you're ready. Have someone that can help you cut off, come down. If you start to go too far, that they can tell you're going too far. Again, there are many people doing this work that have no idea about this, and they will push people into this state just through pure ignorance of what they're doing. So be very careful of who you work with, because there are too many people that, they've gone on a quick 2-day course, week course, learning about the energy. Everything's love and light, and energy can't do any harm, and people who only receive what they can handle. And yeah, okay. I've spoken to too many people to know they've been pushed into emotional crisis, mental crisis, spiritual crisis by these people that are just going hell for leather with no control. So be very careful of them. If you are a person that has had that happen to you, then I encourage you, come and join sessions with me. Come and join me for a coaching session, a Q&A session. It's all on my webpage, so we can sort these things out personally, because it does happen so often, way more often than I want to hear. So let's try and solve those things. So some practical tips about going through this process. I always say it's about balance. The thing that most people never see, yin and yang. Call it black and white, light and dark, electromagnetic, male, female. Big mistake there due to programming. Shakti's feminine and Shiva's masculine. Energy and consciousness. Energy is neither masculine or feminine. Consciousness is neither masculine or feminine. That is unfortunately adding dualistic terminology from a Western perspective, not necessarily Eastern philosophies. This is the problem here. Two terms that are non-dualistic. Again, happens more often than not. People say, oh, well, this is a masculine energy, therefore it has a masculine trait. And for example, a masculine trait is the trait of protection. The man is the protector. Really, for me, if I have to look at society, who is the biggest protector of them all in all humanity? It is the mother. The mother. Thus, is it a male energy? If you look at a pride of lions, who is the one that makes the kill? It is the male that is bigger that gets on the back of the zebra to slow it down. The one that makes the kill is the lioness, more often than not. So again, that's a male trait? No, that is programming of 2,000 years of cultural programming, of dualism, of men do this and women do that. Dualistic terminology. It's so programmed into us. We have to release that. So balance, the yin and yang, what people fail to see within the yin and the yang, in the center, between the yin and the yang, you will find the sine wave. Balance. The sine wave within the circle. People see the colors. People see the little opposite circles. It's the circle. It's the sine wave. It's the energy of the dead center of the circle. Balance, deepness, consciousness. Once you've broken away, once you've freed yourself from the black and the white and duality, that is what is left. If you need to go and look at a yin yang, take away the color, see what's left. It's balance. How do we go into balance? Grounding. Focusing on chakras, meditation, wu wei, zazen. Many different practices we can help us to balance. Vipassana. We can go to Vipassana, that we learn to just be in connection to the energy, to your energy, to the energy. Because we have our internal energy, and then there is the external energy, the universal energy, the life force energy, prana, chi. Kundalini connects us higher. But it's all within us, it's all without of us. As above, so below. It is one of the same. Learning to understand that. Reality is an illusion, illusion is a reality. The constructs of our mind, it's all one. We do not exist, but we do. As above, so below. If you're a beginner, you might not understand that. As I said, this is an intermediate video. Again, how do we stabilize energies? Same thing as I said before. Now, of course, we can also use physical self-care, rest, exercise, building the strength in the body. That can be using asanas, that can be going to the gym, but practicing strengthening the back, flexibility, to be able to sit in meditation postures, to be able to go through the prana in our body, waking up, clearing things, or any physical work can help. Obviously, to balance, to earth ourselves, to ground ourselves, keep the body healthy, drinking lots of water, staying clean, having showers will help to balance us. Eating a diet that is, I'm not saying vegetarian, that is right for your constitution, for your digestion, will help to keep you centered and balanced. Because whilst you are eating what happens today with the genetically modified grains and things like that, you get excessive bloating. If your stomach is bloated because you're on a vegetarian diet to get the calories, and that bloating isn't good for your energy. You have to find a diet that your digestive system is comfortable. You don't have aches, you don't have pains, you don't have bloating. You can go to the toilet normally rather than struggling. Depends on your diet. Figure out what works best for you. Emotional processing, shadow work, emotional release therapy. These are all in my course. If you are interested in going deeper with these things, my integral energy program on theawakeningenergy.com. Come, take the course. Because emotional processing, to release the energy blocks within you, must be done on a physical and emotional level before we go into a Kundalini awakening and raising that energy, because that will only cycle back into dark night of the soul. And you might think you've got everything out and you go for it, and then you start raising your Kundalini higher and higher, and then you fall back into a dark night of the soul situation. You're like, why is this happening? I don't understand, this is wrong for me. No, it's simply because you have not released all the mental and emotional practices you need to do. You have to be aware of these things and stay connected and realize that, oh, I'm feeling a bit like this. What else have I got to release? What else is my body telling me? Because mental clarity is so key here. And you cannot have mental clarity whilst you have not integrated your shadows, released your blocks. Whilst you cannot sit with an open, still, quiet mind to just be. A monkey mind is going to keep you trapped. A monkey mind is like the Matrix. You cannot be free, you cannot be fully awake until you can clear the monkey mind, mental clarity, Wu Wei, Zazen. Going back to the same principles, sitting, being in peace, enjoying your surroundings. It doesn't matter how ugly they are to your beliefs, just connecting to the planet, connecting to yourself, connecting to your energies. There are many that say, thanks to a lot of Eastern programming, Kundalini is something that should just happen naturally. You should not try to do it. You should not try to control the process. That means when it happens, you have no spiritual, emotional, mental support, which doesn't make sense. To support yourself spiritually is possible, but to use someone who can help you, to guide you, is going to be way deeper, especially the way we are educated. It is going to be far easier for most people to use communities, mentors, guides, rather than contemplation, prayer, and meditation for support. Of course, contemplation, meditation are key to this. Also, we could call that prayer. They are key to this process. Some people will be able to use them for spiritual support, but others will just use them as a technique of deepening. Therefore, you need mentors, guides, and a community that you can talk about things openly and not have to hide it. So when going through these processes, you may have to change your friends. You may have to disassociate from your family for a while because they are so programmed in the way they think, and they will try and pull you back into their little boxes and entrapments and fears. And so you have to find communities that will allow you to be yourself, that you can have conversations about ESP and cities and flowing and energy in an open and calm manner, as though they are regular everyday things, because they are everyday regular things. And you need to find those communities. You need to find those groups. And you can find these in retreats. You can find these in trainings. My training, it's not just a training. We also have a community section where you guys can discuss things between you and just, chat with people. And, this is or can be a difficult process. To feel like you are dying and being reborn, to awakening for the first time, to becoming alive for the first time, can be challenging given our programming. And these challenges that we face are normal in a Kundalini awakening and even regular spiritual awakening practice. We must overcome, we must grow, we must transform to reach the bigger transformation of a full Kundalini connection. To be, to know, to understand. After transforming the small, we can transform the big. We just have to take our time. So I encourage you, if you're looking into this process, watch out my other videos, try my energy sessions on my channel, come connect to group sessions, come take my IEP course to go deeper. And remember to ask questions here. If you like this video, hit the like button. Remember to subscribe and hit that notifications button. And you can just, if you wish, in the comments, share your experiences. I try to read most of them, and I try to read all of them, and I generally get back to most people and answer them or comment, as long as obviously they are positive and well-run things. If it's just a troll, then I might not get back to you, as is the way, because we do get many trolls in this, because it is, battles of ego and things like that. So thanks for watching. If you want more information, theawakenedenergy.com, write a comment, join sessions, and let's overcome the challenges of Kundalini together.